You're listening to Chameleon Church. Biblical Antidotes for the Modern Man. With your host, Allan Aguirre.
Good morning.
Good
Hello.
morning. Technical difficulties, everyone. We are live and direct. And where is it? Where is our buddy Allan? I see him. I don't see him on screen yet. We had all kinds of issues this morning. Allan rebooted several times, but we're here. We are here in just a moment.
Blame it on the weather. Oh my gosh. How are you surviving the floods up there? Are you okay?
I am. Our area, I mean, it's wet here, but our area is not flooding.
Good.
So, but there's I have some friends up north that, it's the highest waters they've ever seen.
Wow.
Hi, Allan.
What was that all about?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Restream was not working.
No, it was not. That's weird. I've never seen it do that.
Nope, neither have I. And I used to use Restream like years ago. When I first started doing this stuff, I used Restream or before anything else, StreamYard, Ecamm, and I've never seen that. None of us could get in. I don't know how many times I rebooted, and it was all internet based because this is internet based on purpose so that you guys can run a show if I'm not around. Yeah, that was weird. Off to a late start. My car won't start. There's a demon.
How many times have I heard that one? True
People
though.
think like that, man. People think like that. I was asked this morning about mixed fibers. I'm like, yeah, no, it's just between, you can't mix plant and animal. So you can wear linen and cotton. You can't wear linen and cotton, which are both plants, with wool, which comes from animals. And it's like there's the whole Christians, and all their glorious wisdom, and to oppose the instruction, we'll start bringing up polyester, all the synthetic fabrics that are out there. It's like, oh, so then I can't blah blah blah, or don't you, but you wear mixed fibers, and they bring in all this stuff that's not in the scripture. The scripture is clear: cotton, linen, and wool. It's actually linen and wool. But so why do they? It's like, why are you arguing with me about what the Bible says? Does the Bible say it or doesn't it? And if it does say it, who are you arguing with? Why do you think you're smarter than the text? Why do you think you're smarter than God? But see, they're not. They're just upset. They're mad. They're angry that we would suggest to them that they need to keep the instruction regarding mixed fibers, and they don't like that. They're like little children. Don't tell me what to do. You don't have to boss me. It's like, it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
We hate boundaries.
They hate truth and they hate the word of God. I mean, let's just get down to it. They hate the word of God. Otherwise, why would they be so opposed to it? And why would they always challenge it? Why do they always push back against it? If they loved it, they wouldn't do that. I need to find out. I need to figure out every possible way, every loophole I can find not to obey the Bible. These are Christians we're talking about. these are the type of conversations I end up having with these people. They're going to literally argue with me about stuff that's not in there, and tell me how I don't know what I'm talking about because they're so smart. Can you tell I'm a little bit over it? I'm a little over these people. I'm doing my best to be patient and pastoral, gracious and kind, but at some point you just got to smack them upside the head.
Welcome to Trigger Tuesday, everybody.
Now, obviously, I'm not telling you who I was talking with, but the person I was talking with wasn't opposing it. They were asking legitimate question for understanding so that they could go and, but I ended the conversation. But I brought that up at the end of the conversation, how Christians will actually, for example, this same person shared with me how they posted something about what happened in Australia, and one of their liberal friends came at him like how the Israel that's in the land isn't the Israel of God or the Israel of the Bible or the Israel we're supposed to support, blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay. So just because you don't think they're the Israel of God or the Israel of the Bible, it's okay to massacre them? That's essentially what you're saying. So I shouldn't be empathetic to the people that just got slaughtered in the streets because they're not the right Jews. They're the wrong Jews. So it's okay to kill them. Isn't that what the Catholics, isn't that what they did with the Inquisition? Yeah. It's the same spirit. It's demonic. Well, Allan, do you feel the same way about other people groups that are being slaughtered? Absolutely. Don't do that. That's bad. It's not good. Well, how come you don't talk about them? There's a lot of stuff I don't talk about. Senseless murder or racial profiling like that or genocide of a people group, that's not okay. That's not okay. I'm the one, if you've heard about there's a movie called 4 Broken Cameras or 5 Broken Cameras, you heard it from me. I'm the one that suggested you should go watch that. So yeah, got the wrong guy. Go find somewhere else to troll. Okay, now we got to behave, everybody. Behave. Everybody behave.
We had some technical difficulties, but we think we figured it out. Our next guest needs no introduction. First time setting up Restream. First time ever being on a Restream app, but we have figured out. Welcome.
I think I got it.
Welcome to my daughter, Noella.
Whatever.
Whatever.
Hi.
Hello. This is your dad's idea. Blame him. Don't blame me.
I think it's a great idea.
If it goes south, just go have to tell him.
I love it.
So what's going on, everybody? All right. So Hanukkah has began. We have begun the Hanukkah thing. People are getting murdered for Hanukkah this year. I'm sure it happens every year, but that's the thing. That's the whole thing about Hanukkah. It's literally about people being murdered for being Jewish and for keeping Torah and making Torah illegal. And it's unfortunate that we can't observe something Jesus did. Did you see the Muppet on my post? Jesus didn't observe it. He was there to attack the Jews for observing it. It's like, don't tell that guy Jesus was a Jew. He'll ruin his freaking day. Yeah, people are stupid. People are really, really, really just incredibly painfully stupid, and I'm tired of it. Anyway, so yeah, people are actually getting attacked for this kind of thing, and it's unfortunate. But hey, it's only going to get worse. It's not going to get any better. It's going to get actually worse. It'll get worse before it gets better. It's not going to be better before it gets worse. So, welcome to the show, Noella. Somebody, this is Trigger Tuesday? Is that what we're doing today? We should have Tranquil Tuesday.
That's what Kevin says. He's rejoicing. Trigger Tuesday's back. He put mimosa, 2 clinking mimosa glasses.
What else? So it's Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah, everybody. Tonight is night 3 tonight. So today is day 2. People are like, well, why aren't you going with the calendar based on the new moon? Well, when it comes to Hanukkah and when it comes to Purim, we don't necessarily go with. I don't worry about the new moon simply because and they're not mandated feasts, And so I'm just going to go along with what the Jewish community is doing when it comes to Hanukkah and Purim. You don't have to. You don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with me. But that's why we do that. But when it comes to the actual Moedim, we're going to go with the moon. Absolutely. So, because we can get all goofy if you want. Today's Tuesday. Where's the word Tuesday come from? We have to also function with the Gregorian calendar. Otherwise, you ever tried not functioning with the Gregorian calendar? Good luck with that.
Welcome, first-time visitors. Well, you know what? I was like, does it start tonight or whatever? So I went to Rude Awakening, and they're listed.
Yeah, don't go to church. Go to Rude Awakening.
Yeah. So I showed it tonight. But I chose tonight because you know why? I was out of candles. I did candles Sunday night. So, but I knew there was some discrepancies.
Now I'm just joking about Rude Awakening. They're our friends. They're our ministry partners. They support us. We support them. So don't get excited, people. I know there's actually Rude Awakening staff that watch this show. We love them. They love us. Everything.
Look at this guy backpedaling. Look at this.
And backpedaling.
How did those latest YouTubes go? What's been the feedback? Have they been up a few months?
What are we talking about? Oh, the Rude Awakening show?
Yeah, the Romans.
I'm assuming they're going good. They're also selling the Romans book, so we're sending them cases so that they can fulfill those orders. So yeah, I'm going to say it's going good. Yeah.
Last night's study was good.
Dude, this Romans book, man. It's terrifying. Okay. It freaks me out that anybody would read this Romans book and not come to the same conclusions we're coming up with. I mean, how is that possible? This is what Paul said. Here's Paul his proof text. Here's the scriptures he's quoting. Here's the scriptures he's actually paraphrasing or blatantly quoting to make his point. Here's his point. And to disagree that that's what's going on and to come up with whatever imagination of your own making is really troubling to me, because that just tells me how far removed from the Holy Spirit you actually really are, and that's really scary. They can't believe that Paul is actually saying what he's saying, because that just throws their entire demonic narrative on its ear. That's what's really going on. We'd rather look like a dumbass than submit to the reality that, this goofy guy with the earrings might actually know what he's talking about. It's just really bizarre. All right, somebody else needs to talk. I'm going to stop talking.
I'll say this one thing, thinking about after the study last night, that what prompted the whole narrative of the false teaching that's come up through the Christian church is the hatred of the Jews. It really is. That in the 4th and the 5th and the 6th century, they despised them so much. Our architects of what we understand of Christian theology that came out of the 4th century literally hated Israel. They hated the Jews. So masterfully, the enemy got in and just pulled it apart and just slightly tried to say, no, Torah has no more relevance. It's dead. However, let's look at what Jesus did to circumvent the Jews. That's what they were saying. You talk about demonic and subtle And here we are now at the end of the age, and what's coming full circle? This hatred. And they're not understanding who the true bride is and how we're grafted in. It's unbelievable how the church got hacked over 1700 years ago, and how subtle it was. But it wasn't subtle in their day. It was bloody, and we think the anti-Semitic is right in our face. It was unbelievable. It was murderous and bloody back then, if you look at church history. But they read church history, but they go, oh, okay, let's just let it go by. When I got off, I just started thinking about that.
There's nothing passive about it.
No.
And again, it's just that sheer ignorance. I mean, maybe okay, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. They haven't thought it through. They don't really know what from the river to the sea means. They don't really know what infidelity means. They don't really understand what it is that they're saying or what it is that they're doing. They believe that Israel's an apartheid state that's oppressing and doing all sorts of horrendous things to a people group, to an Arab people group who's not wanted by any of their Arab countries. Let's think about that for a second. Why hasn't, I mean, you got to remember the only people, no one's trying to help the Palestinians outside of Israel, except for Israel. None of the surrounding countries are doing, hey, let's make a deal. We'll take them. We don't want you killing our people anymore. We'll take them all and broker a deal. No one's doing that. Not a single person has ever suggested that in 75 years. Has it been 75 years? Close to it, if not more. Not a single person. They don't want them. That's why Saudi has like 15 freaking walls. It's just not. They're just not. That's just not what's going on. And you've got the proxy war by Iran through Hezbollah and Hamas. Those are the people that are. That's why free Palestine, from Hamas, not Israel. Israel is the only one that's trying to help them. Anyway, it's a skewed narrative. It's been, you gotta come on. When you understand that the God of this world is a liar and a murderer, none of this is confusing. It all makes sense. And if the covenant that Christianity is absolutely certain has been done away with because of Jesus, since that covenant has been eradicated, they also don't understand the reason why this, what's going on. They can't. It's spiritual, and if they're not spiritual. Let me. Christians aren't spiritual. They're not spiritually minded. They don't live out their Christianity in the spirit realm. They're just what we call nominal Christians. They're just people that go to church. That's all. That's all they are. That's all. They don't have power and authority or spiritual authority, nothing like that. So they lack the discernment and the ability to connect the dots or read the Bible clearly. That's why they can come to the conclusions that, the Israel that's in the land, they don't even look Middle Eastern. They can't be the Israel of God. God's not on their side. Plus, God's not interested in nation states. This is the rhetoric that we remind you about constantly, because they don't know their Bible. If they knew their Bible, they would even, they have the Bible. They just won't freaking read it. And if they do, they don't understand it. God made it very clear. Paul in Romans, we're going to see that coming up. Paul makes it very clear in Romans how God hasn't removed his covenant from Israel, contrary to the Christian narrative, contrary to everything the prophets said. It's just a lot easier to believe what they believe and not actually figure out what's actually going on. That's a little too hard, apparently. That's too difficult for the majority. So we have what we have. A complete cock-a-doodle show.
What do you think, Noella?
I would say I very much agree with all of this. I think as I've done my own research, like arguing for things such as, following the feasts and the Torah dietary laws, right? Like it starts from understanding that God's covenant with Israel still exists and like we're just grafted into that. But it's
Oop.
been so evident to me as I discuss like with friends who are interested and starting from that point, like even that is so far gone from them. I think it's just so different from the Christianity that's pushed today. For example, I have a friend, he's kind of a friend of a friend, and I had a phone call with him discussing, we had a 5-hour conversation over Thanksgiving on kind of biblical subjects of various matters. And he lives in Canada, so he's already a socialist communist, which is a whole different conversation. But he when bringing this up to him, it's very much like, you can talk about, I'll use Deuteronomy and be like, God's covenant with Israel like is everlasting, like that doesn't end, that doesn't change. And just kind of he doesn't even like agree with any of the Old Testament. He believes like all of that's kind of gone out the window because Jesus came and there's this grace that's over everything, and it becomes like this circular argument that you can't really win, even when bringing up Paul and how the prophets are quoted. Like people just still won't agree when you bring up anything from the Torah. At least that's my experience with my own generation, is it's very much dismissed if you bring up anything from the Torah or even the prophets. And that's so painful because, knowing that like all scripture is God breathed and useful for teaching, it's like they're automatically dismissing this verse just for their one particular like segments that are taken out of context within the New Testament. And they clearly hold that to a higher standard. And it's so, yeah, I think especially like within my generation, like the replacement theology that goes around it's so crazy. And it's really like without the Holy Spirit though, like you can't convince them of anything. And so that's always something that I, will remember after having like a 5-hour conversation, and it's like you don't get anywhere. Well, all you can do is pray that the Holy Spirit's gonna touch their heart and soften it and show them the truth. But yeah, arguing with some people that don't believe you, like it's just gonna go in a circular argument because clearly they don't have evidence for what they're trying to say, and so it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. And it's not just unfortunately, it's not just your generation. We deal with it at our age group and our bracket. I remember first starting doing this stuff. It is an absolute terrifying idea that everything you know and everything you've been taught and everything your church has told you and your denomination and your parents has been a lie.
Red pill, blue pill.
Yeah. Or you remember that Pagan Christianity? That book came out. When did that book came out? I should probably go grab it. That came out a while ago.
That's 50 years ago.
That freaks people out.
More than 50 years ago.
Really? Pagan Christianity?
Oh, I thought you said Mere Christianity.
Oh, no, Mere Christianity. That was a long time. No, Pagan Christianity. Remember?
I haven't heard of this one.
Oh, no? All right. I'll go grab it. But yeah, Pagan Christianity came out a while ago, and that really people started going, whoa. And it basically it just goes, hey, look at all this stuff we do as Christians. It's all pagan, and here's all the pagan roots. You know what I'm saying? And here's all the pagan roots of all the stuff that we do as Christians. And that people started going, whoa, what's going on here? But it's absolutely horrifying for people how scary is it for them to have to even consider the possibility that they've been lied to, that what their parents told them, right? That what they're so convinced of isn't true. That's terrifying. I mean, that's why The Matrix, the movie, the first one, makes so much sense, right? They'll actually fight to defend the Matrix instead of being taken out of it, because that's all they know. That's the only thing they have. That's their only tangible reality thing, you know. And so pulling that carpet out from under them, the floor, you're pulling the floor out from under them. Now they're free falling. Their reality, their whole deal is crumbling. Their whole deal is crumbling around them. That's terrifying, and I understand that. But then you have to at that point you have to remind them, aren't you told? Okay, forget about the Old Testament, forget about the Torah. Doesn't the New Testament itself teach you to work out your own salvation with fear and trembling, to test everything that you know, to make sure that after doing everything you possibly can to make sure that your selection is secure and approved, right? That's all on you. You've never done that. Why? Why did you just blindly believe everything you were told by your pastors and your youth pastors? Well, because you have to. You have to stay in step. This is what they taught you this from nursery school. This is the programming, right? This is societal programming. Get in line, do this and that and the other. And so and church is the same way, because you've got humans doing church, and humans are humans. You don't have spiritually enlightened humans doing church, or leading church, or running church. That's why, like I said last night, you can go I walk into any Christian church on a Sunday morning, and it's going to look exactly the same. The worship is going to be different because people don't have talent, and I don't know why they're up there, but when it comes to like the teaching or the preaching, it's pretty much the same thing. It's cookie cutter. It's like the same. It's got a cadence to it. It's like this whole thing. And it's like there's one verse, exegesis. It's like, it's bizarre, and they don't ever say anything. It's like there's people in the room going, hallelujah. Oh, they think they're pushing the boundaries, man. They think they're like, oh my God. And I'm like, he just said, let go, let God. And they're all like, oh, that's revelatory. It's like the weirdest thing. But when you're that person that doesn't know how to read the Bible, that's never really read the Bible, that can't connect the dots, that can't add 1 + 1, right? That they don't know that Jesus is Jewish. They don't know that Passover is that's a Jewish thing. Well, then, but your Messiah, Jesus, is the Passover lamb. What? See, so when you're that person and you hear some guy say, let go, let God, it's because they're simpletons. They're simple-minded. They're zero, or like last night, somebody said zero talent, zero minas. I at least give them the one, right? They're 1 talent, 1 mina people. They're not. And so you can't, so it's really hard, like you're saying, Noella, to even go, but what about the prophets, and what about the Torah? What about Proverbs? Because see, they'll at least give some leeway for Proverbs and Psalms, right? Okay, well, what does the proverb say? Let's read those first 10 Proverbs. Oh, it says that stupid, lazy people don't make it into heaven. And you can't be stupid or lazy. And the whole reason why Proverbs exists is so that you wouldn't be stupid or lazy anymore. Now what do we do?
Can I talk about the stupid and lazy really quick?
Please talk. If somebody talk.
The word. Remember last week I really broached that spirit that you guys identified, that deaf and dumb spirit.
Oh yeah, the deaf and dumb spirit.
Remember that it's interesting. The interesting word alim in the Hebrew there, I dug a little deeper. You're talking about stupid people not getting into heaven. This is what the root word, it's negligence. And then I look up, okay, let me see what that really means. It means failing to give enough care or attention or consideration to one's responsibilities. It leads them and can bring the loss of others. And the key concept is that they choose not to carelessly and thoughtlessly disregard truth. That's a dumb spirit. It's not because it's a physical thing. It's how do I say, being negligent on purpose. They want to put their head in the sand.
That's what Israel did in the desert, and that got
That's what they did. That's what the children of Israel did. And when you think about that, when he was dealing with that deaf and dumb spirit, you talk about the stupor that's on the church.
Oh.
Okay, look what happened in Australia. Look what happened at Browns. Look what happened to our 3 people that got shot in Syria. They're looking at it. They say, oh, yeah, this is just regular life. I go, no, it isn't. And what's creeping up on them, and especially during Hanukkah, we need to pay attention to the times, because he says, listen, when the judgments of God are in the earth, men learn righteousness. The stupid people will only learn righteousness when they see the shaking. And what they're saying is, oh, yeah, but really not. It's really the opportunity to say to the dull of hearing and to those who are illiterate biblically, to say, don't you see the signs? You think it's just isolated here and there. It's global, and he's preparing to come back, and you're going to miss it because the line has been drawn.
And that's why we talk about this stuff. And that's why we're always berating you and doing this all the time, because he's coming back and you're going to miss him.
That's right.
You're going to absolutely completely miss. You won't know it's him.
Erica Kirk, what'd she do? She did a private interview with Candace Owens, right? No one knows what's being said, but she was pissed off enough to say, look, I'm going to go after them who are trying to do all the conspiracy on the right wing they're calling themselves Christians. Don't know what it is, but I started looking at that. I'm going, huh. And in my heart, I'm going, well, I live up here in Humboldt. I wonder how much reverberations there are going to be with the youth out there. Are they? Yeah, they all got rocked by Charlie Kirk. They got that, but do they realize the implications of how we need to be even more aggressive to those that are not recognizing Israel? And that's Candace Owens, and
Right,
that's
but
Tucker Carlson, and all those guys.
that's part
So
of the course.
you're hearing Jonathan Cahn come out. You're hearing some really critical people saying, you guys are idiots. You better stop it.
Yeah. And it's par for the course, right? You got this people, you've got your age group, Noella, that's come to salvation or to an interest in hearing about Jesus because of what happened with Charlie Kirk. And then what happens? The enemy swoops down to rob, steal, kill, and destroy that seed. How? By turning everything on its head regarding government, conspiracies, all that stuff, and Israel killed them, and Israel did this, it was a Mossad hit, and all this stuff, and then bad Jews, because why? I said it last night. Torah observance is a threat to the devil, to the dragon. When you're Torah observant, charismatic, forget it. Now the gloves have come off, and that's who the dragon goes after. Torah observant charismatics. And for some reason, I just wanted to be a little punk rocker guy. God's given us this ministry to teach and equip Christians on how to be, or even non-Christians, how to be Torah observant charismatics, because we're trying to prepare you for what's coming, because you don't want to miss Jesus. And if you keep your head in the sand, you will miss Jesus. You don't have the discernment, because you're not charismatic, to know that BLM's probably not a good thing to be involved with, or that you probably shouldn't vote for Obama or for Hillary or for Biden. You don't have it. It's so beyond your pay grade what's going on outside your window. Yet somehow, without having the foundation that Paul was raised up to give you, like we talked about last night, right? Paul was called to give you Gentiles a foundation in the scripture, in the Torah, and you've totally have decimated everything that has to do with everything that has to do with that. Yet somehow you're smart enough to be able to navigate these waters, you know. And so we were talking about how Jesus, Melchizedek and Abram, that's like this stuff up here, right? You got Melchizedek, who's not even a human, up here, and your Messiah, your Jesus that did away with everything, is a priest in the order of Melchizedek, a spiritual entity you know absolutely nothing about. And that's so above your pay grade, right? That's so above your pay grade. How do we know that? Because you're still straining on the gnat of whether you can eat pork or not. You're not even in the game, dude. You haven't even been able, you don't even know how to get to the game. You're so lost. You can't read the GPS to get to the game. We're trying to help you get to the game. And then once you get to the game, we're trying to get you into the right seats so that you're rooting for the right team. And you know what the game is that's being played and the rules of that game so that you can engage. And that all has to do with the stuff that everything your pastor didn't tell you or is telling you not to believe in. That's what's going on. And I know that's a difficult thing to understand. I know how difficult that is. All right, somebody else talk. Help us. Noella, you're the guest. You do all the talking.
Did you want to move on to a new subject or just keep it going?
Anything you want.
Huh. I don't know. I have been really interested, I guess. I don't know if this is a topic you want to go down, but the whole Erica Kirk thing. Because I see even like Christians talking about how she's a fake and she's actually satanic and is trying to thwart the mission and I sometimes I'm like, I don't really I can kind of see both perspectives sometimes. Like I can get how like she seems very she was very hot to trot to, and like she didn't take much time to grieve, and very I don't know, just like her perspective on things was a bit interesting.
Okay,
But
can I say something before we continue
yeah,
about that? Sorry, I said I wasn't going to talk, but even if you were in Provo at the school when that happened, what just happened? Even if we were at the what's going on? Are you playing around there, Kris? Is that you? Oh.
Mm-mm.
Even if you were at the school when this happened, doesn't mean anything. If there is a conspiracy regarding the murder, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, if there's a conspiracy involved, we're not going to know about it. We're never going to know. We're never going to know if there was or there wasn't. Do you know what I'm saying? If there wasn't, then there wasn't. But do you know what I'm saying? If something cloak and dagger occurred, we're not going to know. We don't live in those echelons, in those levels of right. Okay. So because of that, everything and anything we can come up with is all conjecture. We don't know. We just don't know. So that's why we don't talk. That's why we don't touch it. Same thing with Erica, where the post stuff about Erica. Oh, she's this and this, whatever. She was a fake. She was a. So regarding her response to the death, because I know that's a big deal. Oh, she didn't grieve, like you mentioned. Or is it possible she has a different perspective on it? So here's what I mean by that. Chuck Pierce, years ago, Chuck Pierce shared how something was going on with his eye, and he was tripping out on his eye. He was obsessing about his eye, and I guess him and his wife would go to like this home church during the week where they would do like prophetic painting and stuff like that. And so they were at this at this home group thing where they were supposed to do painting and stuff, prophetic painting. But all he could do was obsess about his eye. And the wife was like, get over it, man. You're here to do the painting. Paint. Don't worry about, go to, you're going to go to the doctor and then whatever the doctor says, we'll see. But her whole position on it, or her whole perspective on the thing was, yeah, I know you're tripping out on your eye. You need to stop tripping. We're here to do this. Trip when you find out what's really going on, because you don't know what's going on, right? And then there was another time. So that was a different perspective. I'm leading up to how he was leading it up to it. Then he had to go abroad, but he had to take these vaccinations that he didn't want to take because he didn't want the vaxes, the shots to mess with him. But he also knew he couldn't go to the country, without these shots. So he's like, well, what if I take the shots and something goes wrong, and while I'm abroad in an incredibly primitive third world country? She goes, well, then if you die, then you die, right?
Not bro.
Right. And so I'm like thinking, huh. And then he goes on it. So more time elapses. He's in a foreign country ministry. But when he left Texas, his mom was sick. And while he was abroad, his mom died. And people thought, well, shouldn't you have stayed at home if you knew she was sick because she's elderly? There was a good chance. And he's like, I have to still do what I'm supposed to do. Mom's going to be fine. She died. I'll see her later. It's like, so I started seeing this pattern of him developing this different perspective on death, right? This complete different perspective on death. Like, people are going to die. I'm going to die. People are going to die. My loved ones are going to die. My family's going to die. Right? I know a family in Texas. Their mom died, and half the kids, they lost their ever-loving minds. And I'm like, you guys are like lifetime Christians. Why did you throw your Christianity out the door when your mom died? I mean, it was bad. The way they reacted to their mother dying was not godly in any way, shape, or form, and not a good testimony of their lifelong walk with God. It was the exact opposite, because it was superficial and shallow. So I'm like, I'm not afraid of death. I'm afraid of dying. There's two different things. See what I'm saying? So I want a different perspective on death, on the whole death thing. I don't want to tripped or whatever, I want to have a different perspective on it. So I'm trying to figure that out and this and this and that. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I'm live on a Tuesday morning, I think it was. And I'm live and I'm talking, and then I got a text message, and I read the text message, and I said in front of the camera, I said, oh my God, my dad's about to die. Because I had seen him. I knew he was sick. He was in the hospital. They sent him home to die. And live, I read this message, and I went, oh my God, my dad's about to die. And so I went, hold on a second. And I turned around. I got my crap together. Took me about 10 seconds. And then I turned around and went forward.
I remember that.
What's that?
I remember that.
Yeah. And then after the show, I went, yeah, okay, yeah, my dad's going to die. I already said goodbye. I already took every business is taken care of. My dad's good to go with God, because he came to, not only did he come to Jesus, he came to an understanding of Torah before he left. Not that, that anyway, Jesus is how you get to heaven. Let's do the Jesus thing. Don't put the cart before the horse. Anyway, a lot of people do. But then I went, oh, I'm learning to get this different position, this different perspective on death. Is it possible she has an eternal concept, is it possible that she's eternally minded about it? See, here's the thing. Here's the problem with being a Christian in the world. It doesn't look good, and it doesn't make sense. And it's always going to shoot you in the foot. And it's always going to bite you in the ass. It's not a good thing to be a Christian in the secular world, because it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. For example, this is what I tell people all the time. If you raise someone from the dead, don't tell anybody. You can't tell your pastor. You can't tell people at church. You better be you better be wiser than the act of raising a human from the dead when it comes to who you tell about it, because it's not going to work. It's not going to go over well. One of the biggest mistakes Peter Wagner did was tell in a secular news interview like CNN or something. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure it was Peter Wagner. Not sure who he was interviewing with, but out of his mouth comes how the emperor of Japan was having sex with demons. You know, whether that's right or whether that's true or not is besides the point. You don't talk about that stuff with the secular press. You look like a psychopath at that point, right? You can get committed for thinking or talking like that because they don't know what the heck you're talking about. They have no reference, right? So there's nothing Erica can do right.
Can I want to answer a question too. You know, the red letters? Remember what Jesus said in Luke 9? When, you know how, hey, look, we've been pastoring a long time. You've been pastoring too, Allan. 45 years behind me? They asked me, well, do you know the 7 areas of grief that we have to cover when someone dies? I go, are you kidding me? I go, that is so catering to the natural man to keep him stuck. It's unbelievable. And everybody, because I responded to somebody, you know what the red letter said? When they said, what do we need to do to follow you, Master? He said, go let the dead bury the dead. That was Jesus's words. He was dealing to those that would follow him. He was talking about Torah because he understood exactly what Allan was saying, the eternal purpose of what we were called for. And it's interesting. I want to go back 40 years when Allan first came into our church, the generation then, when he came in with no eyebrows, literally walking into the Burbank Vineyard, no eyebrows. He had to bug out for a second, but he would be able to describe. He had his earrings. He had everything. And a lot of people in that church who were looking at him, and it's interesting, it was the grace of God that gave us a grace to love him, because that generation said, no, he doesn't fit. It's interesting. The prophetic word came out saying how God was going to push through. And you know what he's doing? He's raising up these rich people, billionaires and millionaires, to go where places that people couldn't go before. And the interesting thing that I found out about this whole thing with Turning Point USA is his book that just came out and how that's been promoted concerning the Sabbath. And behind the scenes, they can look at her and her reaction in the last 6 months. But for 2 years before that, they were honoring Sabbath, and he was honoring what it meant to love his wife. So there's a couple of people that I've been responding on the post to that, some believers that were saying thus and so, and I just go, boy, you know what? You need to go back to the simplicity of what Jesus said and go back to the red letters. Because like I said, Allan, when you had no eyebrows, that's 40 years ago. And here she comes out with everything on her. She explained the things of all the rings on her fingers and where she's at. And it was his red letters. Let the dead bury the dead. That was his grief therapy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a hard one.
And again, if there is conspiracy regarding her, well, we're never going to know.
Yeah.
We'll never know.
Right.
And it's all conjecture and it's all assumption. We'll never know. So, you're up. I just want to say those two things.
And that's not just in defense. I'm just saying,
yeah,
the bigger picture is he's coming back. Yeah. And people aren't seeing what's really on the outside. They're looking at saying it's like you said, the enemies come in there to drop the conspiracy to take away from the real thing. That's what's the real issue.
Here's what I do know.
Yeah.
The guy was Torah observant to an extent. He was keeping Shabbat. That's where most people start.
He was a beginner.
That's already beating the majority out there. He's already ahead of the game. The guy was smarter than the average bear. I had no issue with his theology or doctrine when he was answering these people. And he was really talking a lot about the law and Torah and how it was that Jesus didn't do away with it. Those are all good things. He's one of us at that point. You know what I'm saying? And so I know that, and I know that he was murdered. And then I know that it moved a lot of people to salvation. And at that point, you can, I mean, look at all the conspiracies that were surrounded around Jesus while he was alive, during his ministry, death, and supposed resurrection. And the only ones that were certain were 120 people out of the entire nation. And then they went and taught, you know. You're up.
No, I think that's like such an interesting way to think about it. Like, thank you for those responses, because like being at a Christian school, like you get so many different people having such strong opinions in like one way or another, and it becomes like when you're just kind of in that pot with everyone, it's like, whoa, like got to take a step back and really critically think about like what you really believe, because there's so many people who would just believe what they see on social media and are just like have for some reason are so latched to this one thing, and can't like hear anything else. And I think like conspiracies are such um a big thing nowadays, and it's like, well, if you actually take it in the perspective of like the Bible, which I think we're so quick to put our own opinions on everything before resulting in like, well, what does the context of the Bible say? Like personally, like something that I'm working on is just like going to that first and be like, okay, well, what can we take from this in the context of like modern day? And so yeah, that's interesting.
I'm an old punk rocker, so everyone expected me to be, you know, a social justice warrior and to, you know, head on stuff with, you know, social disobedience. It was a big thing when I was coming up, right? You know, and I did to an extent, because I'm an old punk rocker. But then I got saved, and not only did I get saved, I understood stuff in the Bible and what Jesus taught that the majority of Christians around me still don't understand. Whether they were, even if they were my peer group or above me. See, it's one thing to have a clue within your peer group, but when the people above you don't have a clue and you do, that makes it a very difficult journey. And I've had that difficult journey. But Francis Schaeffer came out with a book called Addicted to Mediocrity. And it was all about civil disobedience as a Christian. Did your dad tell you to read that book? But you know about it, right?
No, but I do know about it. Yes.
Yeah. And it was all about civil disobedience as a Christian, which totally makes sense. Blah blah blah. You know, but you know, then you had that whole group of people that were like, Jesus was a punk rocker, he was a rebel. Well, no, he actually wasn't, because rebellion is witchcraft, and he wouldn't. You know, they you know, right? They have to try just like the Christian left. They've got to make Jesus their buddy to back up their rhetoric and their absolute ridiculousness. Well, but my question was, okay, regarding civil disobedience, whatever it is, I don't care what it is, you have to go back and look at the text. What does the text say? What is the text telling us about whatever it is that we're talking about? And when it came to civil disobedience, Jesus said, leave it alone. Let the tares and the wheat grow together. If you go in there and try and weed out the tares, you're probably going to weed out the wheat. And I see a whole bunch of Christians running around out there that were uprooted by people that were trying to uproot tares. And they've been uprooted, which means their root system is gone, or it's fractured, or it's been damaged. And they have big old chips on their shoulders, right? Jesus said, leave it alone. Just leave it alone. Let them grow together. Who does the harvesting? The angels. Apparently the angels are better at it when it comes to separating the wheat and the tares. Apparently they have more surgical precision than us mere humans do. We are a little lower than the angels, it says.
Yeah.
Right? He says, leave it alone.
Facebook angels.
When it's time to be dealt with, we'll deal with it. You leave it alone because you're all a bunch of dumbasses. You're gonna mess it up. And we have, right? You will pull out wheat if you pull out tares, because a lot of the root system get, affected by it. And so I've seen it. So when it comes to that, so when it comes to conspiracy theories, when it comes to civil disobedience, stuff like that, I know a guy who's made an absolute.
You're muted, Allan. You're muted.
Did I mute myself? And I've supported his ministry. What did you hear last? What did you hear last? I can't hear you.
Did like 10 seconds. I can't remember.
Did you? Did I mention a friend of mine that's an abortion?
Yeah, that's it. He said, I had a friend of mine, and it went mute.
Yeah, so I have a friend of mine who's a huge anti-abortion guy. I mean, huge. I mean, famous for it. But I've been at places where he preaches anti-abortion or baby rights. That's his evangelism. That's his gospel. And that's what he preaches to people. Well, wait. You have to preach Jesus. You're putting the cart before the horse. See, I know people, right? So anyway, so before I say the next thing, right? So we have to be really careful to what extent we get involved with that. Now, do I believe that there are conspiracy theories that are true? Absolutely. I mean, chemtrails. I mean, come on. The anti-Semitism. I'm a G6 guy. I'm a Genesis 6 guy. I'm a Watchers Nephilim thing guy because God told me to. But I don't put, you better know about G6 as my, that's not how I evangelize people. Because guess what? I know people that actually evangelize with flat earth and Torah. And my question to them has always been, did you even mention Jesus? And the majority haven't. They're evangelists for flat earth. They're evangelists for Torah. What happened to Jesus? So we have to be really careful. So if I can, there's no way I can tell. There's no way I can prove flat earth, for example. There's just no way. There's no way I can prove flat earth. I can't go up there and look and show you this flat thing, whatever. Right? I can't. I don't have that. I don't have an airplane. I don't have a spaceship. Right?
You don't have a flying saucer.
I don't have a flying saucer. So I can't, right? And so here's what I tell people about flat earth as an example to what we're talking about. Because you got to remember, I think 9 out of 10 flat earthers aren't charismatic or whatever the number is. It's high. So I tell them, okay, I believe you. I believe the earth is flat. Oh, crap. Nothing happened. Nothing changed. That didn't impact me in any way, shape, or form. But you start speaking in tongues, it will change your life. Let's start there. Let's start with what I call the gateway gift, the lowest bottom gift. Let's start with speaking in tongues. You start speaking in tongues, Mr. Flat Earther, it will change your life. Because Paul says, right, what's the New Testament teaching? Speak in tongues and prophesy. I want all of you to speak in tongues and prophesy. Why don't you speak in tongues and prophesy? Don't hinder prophecy. Don't hinder speaking in tongues. Yet Christianity has. See, flat earth? I think I felt, no, I didn't feel anything. You know what I'm saying? It's just ridiculous. So if I can't prove it, if I can't back it up, there's nothing like, there's conspiracies about October 7th. I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm not privy to any of that. I'm not privy to to any of that stuff. I don't work. I'm not a Mossad or CIA or FBI or Illuminati as much as some people want to believe that. Oh, he's part of the new apostolic reformation, or whatever, right? And, did you see him? He's flashing Illuminati demonic devil signs. People have said that. Oh, he's wearing a black shirt. He's got earrings, right? It's like, that's why I always go back to Jesus. Like Kevin said, I always go back to Jesus. I always go back to Jesus about everything, because it's not about all this other stuff. All right, I'm talking too much. You're up again. Sorry, I'm just trying to answer your questions thoroughly so that you have, so that I'm just trying to arm you. So when you go back to you got to remember, my wife went to a Christian college, and I'd show up to pick her up when we were dating, and people would want to beat me up. I go, is this what they're teaching you here?
No, it's it's Church of Christ. So it's a lot of a cappella worship, and I don't know. It's very different, I think, than what I'm used to. A lot less charismatic, and even like we have required Bible classes, and in my first class, my teacher was talking about how the Old Testament law still does apply, and one kid asked, "So that means no shrimp?" And she was like, "Well, no, according to Acts 10, we actually do eat. I can eat shrimp now." And it was very like, wow, even people with doctorates and, have been to school 10 years to learn about all of this stuff are still very blindsided. And so, yeah, even in my Christian college, you're still like facing those battles every day.
It's crazy. Well, they've been taught one thing and they believe it. Doesn't matter what it says. There's some of us that actually believe that the Bible is saying what it's saying, and we believe it, versus those that want it to say what they want it to say, or they make it say what they want it to say. All right, Kris, what else? You guys, what's going on here?
It's Bible Belt Christianity. You lived in Dallas.
Yeah,
I lived in Dallas. I was born in Oklahoma. It's like, Noella goes off to college in Dallas. She's here for the Christmas break, everyone. So it's like,
when you trim the tree?
We didn't, no tree this year.
What about your Hanukkah bush?
Yeah, well, yeah, about that. We get that today. Hanukkah starts tonight.
That's a thing, apparently.
Yeah. Noella tell me stories about class, but of course, even though you go to TCU, right? She doesn't go there. Texas Christian, or, Abilene Christian, or what's the East Coast one? It's like they were founded as Christian colleges, not Torah observant colleges, but in the Bible Belt. So of course, everyone, it's like I saw something about yesterday about this applies to the Christian college scene. I think it was a rabbit hole I got down with Christian music, but it was talking about modern day evangelicalism. Modern day churches are basically youth group for millennial. It's just so shallow and frosting, similar to what you were saying earlier about let go, let God, all the memes and cliches and
Christian books.
So in general, if Bible Belt Christianity is like that, and then you're at a Christian college where it's just like, oh yeah, everyone's a Christian. Do you ever pray? Well, I can't remember. But that Torah ribbon, that's even for water. And so it's funny here in Noella's. It's funny and sad commentary.
Yeah.
Hearing some of Noella's experiences. But okay, let's be positive. This weekend at our church, we got scheduled baptisms. So we got the tub up, and someone would want to be baptized, got baptized, awesome. Recently became Christian, awesome. Then 2 spontaneous baptisms, sophomores in high school. So there is Lenny, we were talking about this generation earlier, like there is a hunger. I see it in Noella's peeps and my son's and his friends, and there is a generational awakening, and that there are all these pockets where you can see these kids that are being drawn in, like not even their parents weren't even Christians, right? And yet here they are getting baptized, receiving the gift of tongues, like that. I am hopeful, there's still hope, right? It's going to get worse. The road is wide that leads to destruction. A lot of people like to be on those edges, those fringes, but yet there are people that are walking the walk. Amen, brother. Walk the walk. Like, there are people that are like being drawn and hearing, maybe not mature yet, but are maybe sick of the gloss, maybe sick of the frosting and the frog machines and the like 12-minute sermon and the the social media posts of let go, let God. And there's a hunger, I think, in Noella's generation. What do you think, Noella?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think being at school, I think yeah, it's just very like Bible Belt Christianity of like it's so much of a title and people living kind of with the same hurt, the same like they're carrying the same burdens and the same baggage that you could find pretty much anyone that's not a Christian carrying, right? And it's not like they live any differently kind of internally or externally. Um there's definitely not been any transformation. And so I think, like, yeah, along the lines of what my dad is saying, like, there are people that are very hungry for that. Um, and oftentimes, like, what I've seen, though, they're just kind of stuck in their same opinions on things. Like I was saying earlier, like, it is very much like they have this strong will to know more, but they don't necessarily desire, like, the revelation side of it, if that makes sense. They just kind of want Jesus and they want more of Jesus, how they know Jesus, and not like what the word is actually saying Jesus is. Um, and so that's been like my biggest prayer for my generation, like at school, is like that the Lord would make himself real to them in like an intimate way, but also like in the realest way possible. But I think it's hard to find like trustworthy resources, right? Because even the charismatic church that I go to, they're very Holy Spirit filled, but it's like to what extent, right? At their potlucks and everything, we still eat pork. Like we don't acknowledge any of the Jewish feasts. Like we talk about Christmas from the stage, Mass of Christ, as we say at our house. Like it is kind of like to what how do we present these resources to them and like get them what they actually need, if that makes sense, because even the most trustworthy resources aren't. Do you get what I'm saying? Like,
I get it.
Yeah, there's not nice little catchphrases. It's not like, you got to study, you got to dig in, or at least be open-minded. What's the phrase that works in so many in situations where it's a family dynamic or a employee-employer, or what we're doing, preaching, teaching the word, is like people only hear you if they're walking towards you. So there's this whole relational component of like keeping relationships with people that may not see things like you are yet, but are not antagonistic to it, and loving on them and whatever, being in their lives And this is honestly a lot easier to do with non-Christians or people that are not in the church, right? Because you know, and then you able to drop the line on them, or like, you know, make it real to them in the moment. I think that's I don't know. It's just being faithful to where you're called and having discernment, and ask the Lord for discernment of what to say and when to say it.
Yeah.
But it's a fact. There's going to be goats, right?
Yeah.
There are going to be sheep and there's going to be goats, and it's a fact. And it's not on us to change them. It's on us to be faithful to where God's put us. And it's on us to obey the commands.
Yeah. And a very difficult, a lot of people have it's difficult for Christians, is even Jesus quoted this. Elijah was sent to one widow during an entire national famine. He was sent to one widow. And that doesn't work for a lot of people.
It doesn't. I only came to the lost tribes of the house of Israel.
Yeah. Kevin, our moderator, he'll remember this. I was being bullied to fly on my own dime to somewhere on the East Coast to lay hands on one of their friends' wives that was dying. And I'm like, because they were like, oh yeah, well, you think you can do that? You know, because they were like, they opposed what we talk about when it comes to charismatica. So they were basically saying, yeah, well, you know, save yourself, come off the cross. Basically, that's the same spirit that they were throwing at me. And I explained to them, I'm like, 1, I don't know your buddy. 2, I don't know his wife who's dying. 3, God hasn't told me to go to do this. I don't even know these people. I go, does your friend know that you're doing this to his wife with me? Does your friend know that you're messing with me about his dying wife? I mean, it was that perverted. And I go, God hasn't told me to go. I don't even know these people. He hasn't told me to go over there and lay hands on this woman to heal her. He go, and they couldn't understand that. They couldn't understand that. What do you mean? You have to wait for God to tell you to lay hands on someone to pray for them to? It's like because they were so far removed. And their position was, I grew up in a Pentecostal church. I know all about this. And I'm like, you're an idiot. And he is. Anyway, and then someone's going to get really tripped out right now that I called a fellow brother an idiot. Hey, man, don't be an idiot. I won't call you one. So, and then I quoted him that verse about, I told him, this is what Elijah, and this is what Jesus said. Elijah was sent to one, and they were totally, and I'm like, you know what? I'm done wasting. I'm not throwing another pearl your way, dude. It was brutal. So yeah, people don't like that. They don't like the idea of God doesn't heal everybody. Not everybody's raised from the dead. You know, I mean, hey, not everybody goes to heaven. It's just, you know, there are, like you said, there are goats and there are sheep. They have a hard time with that. So what's the answer? Don't be a goat. If you don't like the idea of goats and sheep being separate, right? Isn't there a new thing going around the internet right now about what's his name? The
let goat.
Yeah, no, I can't believe in a God that would condemn people to an eternal hell and an eternal death. Cameron, there's this whole
Cameron, yeah.
Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I do know that there are people out there that actually believe. I can't believe in it, that actually confess and say and declare that I can't believe in a God that would
annihilationist,
that would send people to an eternal death. I can't believe in that type of God. I'm like, well, that's fine. You don't have to. That's my favorite part about Christianity, and we'll end it on this. My favorite part about Christianity is you don't have to do it.
You're listening.
Advise that. But my favorite part about Christianity is that you don't have to believe it and you don't have to do it in any way, shape, or form.
You're listening to Chameleon Church.
But he wants you to.
You're listening to Chameleon Church. Biblical Antidotes for the Modern Man. With your host, Allan Aguirre.
The views and opinions expressed during our broadcasts are solely those of the broadcast producers, hosts, and/or guests, etc., and are not necessarily the views or opinions of the Travelog Network, its sponsors, or affiliates.